Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your friendly neighborhood gamer and collector and all-around geeky guy, Lord Ryujin here, bringing you another video blog. And I just wanted to talk about the Nintendo NX, and I've decided that I'm going to go back to doing personal videos. It's just easier for me to stand in front of a camera and talk than to try and record gameplay footage and then do a voiceover and have to get the voiceover right and all that stuff. It's just easier for me to do it this way. So, in this video, I wanted to talk about the Nintendo NX, like I was doing with my previous video, and just talk about what I want to see more specifically from it, games and everything like that. Now, in the previous video, I spoke a little bit about the hardware and how I believe that the hardware has already been locked in, especially if it's going to come out within the next year. They got to get game developers and stuff working on it, so it's something that I'm sure is already locked in. But what would I personally like to see? Well, I want to see all kinds of neat features. I've already mentioned some in previous videos. I'd love to see backwards compatibility all the way. This needs to be the system like the Wii was. The Wii had Wii and GameCube and going all the way back. I want to see that with this. I want to see Wii U games and Wii and GameCube games all being offered digitally. It would be nice that if you had it, Wii U games physically, that it would read them and allow me to use the gamepad and all that and play it. That would be really nice. Although I do think that to an extent the NX is just going to be a digital-only system. So if you own them digitally and they work, that's fine too. I would like it to use physical media, like I talked about in my last video, because things like SD cards, they load a heck of a lot quicker. Anybody that's played games back in the day know what I'm talking about. I have Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo games and Genesis games that still read perfectly to this day, and I've had PS3 games scratch up on me and stop working. So discs are becoming a cumbersome experience, at least for me. They were cool to begin with, but now I kind of want to see a renaissance of gaming and go back to physical media and using SD cards like some of these rumors we're talking about. I would personally like to see them do the reverse of the Wii U, in which it has instead of having a gamepad, it has a Pro Controller as its basic thing, but it gives you a gamepad option, maybe a smaller, more trimmed up gamepad, or even something like a 3DS with a dual screen for maybe off-TV play of Wii U games or something like that you can use separately. And that's more likely going to be something that they are going to do, especially if it's a hybrid system and maybe it bundles the portable with it. Time will only tell what they really are going to do with it, though. I would like to see a unified shop in which, similar to what Microsoft is doing, where if you buy it digitally or whatever, you get it on both. It would be nice if I had it on whatever the NX Portable is, as well as on the NX console. So if I buy a game like Super Metroid, it's available for both. I don't have to just keep buying it separately. And speaking of, I want to see them redo the Miiverse, because the Miiverse is a good idea, and we've seen it done on other systems, like the PS4 and the Xbox One. They're doing something similar, in which there is a sort of a what's new kind of thing, where you log in and it shows what people have been playing and the trophies that they've earned, and you can like it and leave comments on it, and people can record gameplay footage of them playing, and you can comment on it and stuff like that. That's the kind of thing that I'd like to see them do in the future. And the reason why I wanted to keep using a gamepad or even some kind of a tablet is because it makes typing a heck of a lot easier doing that. But again, I think that the Miiverse just needs to be redone, because the Miiverse was a good idea. It just needs to be integrated in a new way to where maybe it automatically shows up on the controller or shows up on the screen live time as you're playing. People can comment, stuff like that. Some neat new integration, because I don't see them really wasting a lot of money, especially for all the time they put into the Miiverse and updating it and stuff. Oh, what else? Virtual reality, something I've already talked about. They can and cannot do that. I don't really care either way if they do or they don't, honestly. But I really wouldn't be surprised if they jump in with that. But now we get into the meat and potatoes of it, because I've talked a lot in previous videos about what I want the Nintendo NX to be. I don't really care so much about the specs, because as I've talked about in previous videos, specs become sort of outdated. I mean, some of the best games that I have played have been like Wii games. at a time when we had PS4 and Xbox One, and even PS3 back in the day. I still like to play Wii games and Nintendo 64 games because it should be about the fun. And honestly, when we got developers that learn how to develop laterally. I mean, look at some of the early, like, first generation PS1 games, and then look at how some of the games look towards the end of the PlayStation 3's life cycle. Same technology, but they just learned how to scale it better. And so that's the reason why I'm not really worried about specs, because we can get something like the Xbox One, and you can always upgrade it and give it more access to more GPUs or whatever, and basically figure out ways of making it faster and better and all that stuff. So I'm not really too worried about the specs, as long as the games are fun and the games are there. Because if you can sit there and look at me and tell me that games don't sell a console, then you're crazy, because I can name all kinds of games that helped sell game consoles simply because they were on that system. So what I want to see from the games, well, I have a ton of ideas. First of all, for a Super Mario Brothers game, a true one in tradition of like Mario Galaxy or Super Mario 64, or even Mario Sunshine, those kind of 3D platforming games, a game like that would really help sell. We already know we're going to get Breath of the Wild on the NX, so I'm sure that's really, really going to help the sales of the Nintendo NX. But we really just need to get a more consistent lineup of games, not only from the get-go, but we need to keep it consistently coming. Because when you have a long gap in games coming to your system, it really shows in your sales, and it doesn't help. And maybe that's what Nintendo's doing, because they probably have a ton of games that are coming out that they were developing for the Wii U, but they decided to hold off and show off for the NX. So only time will tell on this. But one of the main things that I want to see is a new Metroid. And I know that we're getting Metroid Federation Force coming out. If it's still coming out, I have to check up on that. But I mean, like, sort of like a reboot, I guess. Not really a reboot, but just imagine like God of War, for an example, that Sony showed off at this year's E3. It looks like it's sort of God of War reinvented. It makes it seem like it's a sequel, like it's God of War 4, but it kind of also looks like it's its own thing. Something like that. Something like what Metroid Prime did, where it's technically within the same series, and it's kind of a prequel between games, but it was its own thing. It redefined that genre, that game series. Something like that. I'm thinking maybe like a third-person shooter, maybe over the shoulder, sort of like an Uncharted, or maybe even a Gears of War. You can keep the same action that you had with like Other M, but just sort of give people the freedom of being able to explore this area, and as they find items, they go about in different areas, this, that, and the other. Think Breath of the Wild as Metroid, pretty much. You know, behind the view, running around, maybe in an open field or an open ship or something like that. And really, as you get these items, they become more and more available. Plus, I think things like being able to hide behind cover and stuff like that would really help in improving the immersement of Metroid. Again, Nintendo, you do your own thing. I'm just giving you suggestions. And just for the fans out there, of course, F-Zero. I would love to see another Luigi's Mansion announced, another Kid Icarus. As long as there are games for this system, I really think it's going to help. But make sure that you put in the comments down below what games you would like to see Nintendo come out with. There's a lot of speculation on the system, and hopefully it will be revealed soon. And when it is revealed, I plan to talk about it as soon as possible. And I think that's going to be it for now. I have another video that I need to upload as well. But hopefully that is that. I don't really know at this point. It really just depends upon what the NX is. I can't sit there and say, well, I'd like to be this price, and I'd like to be this, that, and the other. It really depends upon what the NX is. And I've talked a lot about it in the past. But my Nintendo Cross video, I think, is probably the best idea of what I want it to be. This system that is basically a two-in-one deal. Think of it like the PlayStation 4 and the Vita, the way that they were going to work hand in hand. One was a portable, one was a console, but one could work in conjunction with the other. The Vita could be a controller in addition to being its own separate thing. It worked with the same shop. It could be used for off-TV capabilities, stuff like that Nintendo's already kind of fiddling around with. They just need to take it to the next level and basically do like, hey, the Nintendo 3DS is now a controller kind of thing. But that's my 2 cents, guys. I can see now that I'm way past the 10-minute mark, and I've probably lost most of you. But if you've watched me this long, I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry for the long-winded video, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.